start recording and let's go over the trades from last week. So, there's not many, which is cool. So, I'm gonna start this off by saying I focus this week, my main focus was pretty much to not trade below the diagonal. I keep forgetting about that. It's the newest refinement to my system, so naturally I forget a little bit. I found a really cool thing though. I found this trading checklist that I can put on my context time frame over here, and I pretty much copy paste my weekly focus onto here. So that way I will have it on my eyes every single time that I'm about to trade. I might even put this checklist onto my entry time frame. Maybe that could be worth it, just in the beginning, so I don't forget. But yeah, anyway, as always, I want my main focus is to skip bad setups. That's the number one thing as a trader that I want to do. And bad setups consist of trading below diagonal, trading choppy markets, of course, and also I want to focus on not reducing risk too early or too late, naturally. But yeah, let's jump into those trades. So I think there was just one German 30 trade and a couple like five gold trades. So let's see how they looked like. I'm gonna find it on my Notion as well. There we go. So this should be a break even. No, that's a -1 on Ger 30. So let's go over the labels and walk you through every single one of these trades. So we had an ongoing bullish market over here that broke down. The moment this momentum cycle failed, I instantly assume that price is gonna go sideways underneath the EMAs eventually, which happens over here, and I already anticipate my big sideways box. And I'm gonna be looking for price to break out with a candle close, and then I can follow to go higher. I don't know if this is a short or a long. Let me just see. Two, three, two. That's a long. Okay, cool. I don't think I would be shorting J 30. It's been very bullish over, well, the entirety of 2025 pretty much. But yeah, here we are. 6 minutes. I'm gonna be following this impulse over here. I just need to make sure that it's not overextended. So now that I zoom in onto it, I can see that this is my accumulation MB down over here. And let's count the MBs together. So this is MMB1. I would say this is MMB2, and this is probably MMB3. Maybe MMB4 if this was MMB3. And either way, this is not overextended, and I'm okay to trade in this prime area. So price pulls back into the rising EMAs. I go to the 1 minute. It looks like this is a 1 minute entry. Here, I'm looking for exactly the same. I'm looking for this momentum cycle to fail. Also, I'm looking to analyze this momentum cycle over here to see whether it was impulsive. Looking at it now, it's not the best. It's not super weak. Like those that are really weak, they just kinda they stay around here and very often dip below the tunnel. So we're not seeing that. We do see some impulsiveness. We do see some valid demand zones being left behind, some inefficiencies, some chunky candles, right? So I thought this is good enough, and there is a good chance that this might work. So price breaks down. I want to see something liquidated, right? This was the level I wanted to see liquidated. Breaks down, and now I'm simply looking for my DMB setup. And the type of DMB that I like is, first of all, the MBs need to be proportional. They need to be very similar in size. And second of all, the validation of MB1 needs to be very impulsive, very strong candles that go up, leave behind inefficiencies. Basically, the buy button, right? So here it looks like the buy button was pressed, pulls back very nicely to the rising EMAs, and I would say this was a really, really nice entry. The only thing that I would say was not perfect was that this could be a little bit stronger, but other than that, I really like this entry. So let me label all of this. So here we have a stage 1 expansion. Okay, here we have good momentum, and I would say this is MMB3. And here we have a very nice DMB. So it's not perfect, but it's very, very good. So I'm just gonna call it good. Either way, this was a good enough trade, and I will take it again. It ended up being a -1, taps me in, This was not nearly enough strength for me to break even or anything. Just taps me in and instantly fucks me up, but I'm okay with that. So let's label that. Uh-huh. 60 minutes was good context, definitely. 6 minutes was good momentum, and 1 minute entry was really nice. Management wise, there was nothing to do, so management was perfect. I would say this deserves a perfect, and yeah, I really like this trade. Next up, looks like I have a lesson here. I can go through that as well. Why not? Took a -1 on German 30. Let's see what this is. Uh, I want to illustrate a point here regarding the supply line. The moment I get a valid entry like this one and price decides not to go, it creates a high that allows me to draw the supply line. And now I will no longer take any entries below it. Oh, okay, I see. That's what it is. Cool. So I finally found a good rule to implement this. So what I mean by this, I can show you right on, well, not TradingView actually. Where can I show you? Well, I probably have to show here. But yeah, so I took this entry, right? Price tapped me in. This is the previous entry on J 30 and then fucks me up, which is okay. But this gives me a new structural high point where I can draw the supply line. And from here on, I'm not going to take any trades in this area below. So basically, I get one entry before I can even draw the supply line. And if that fails, any entries after that are only gonna happen on good momentum after a breakout above the supply line. So I think this is a very nice rule that will serve me well. I'm always looking for the most simple and easy to follow rules that I can create, so that it's very easy and simple for me to follow when I'm on the 10 second, because there is not much room or time to think. You really need to have these rules embedded in you and cemented well. So this is the rule that I'm going for. Anyway, next one. So this is gonna be, I think, 5 trades on gold. So we will see how it progressed over the week. And let's start with the context and what I saw. So we saw this bullish push over here, very similar to this one, actually. This is a very similar trade. The bullish push, right? And then eventually it loses its momentum cycle and starts going sideways just like over here, and I will be looking for the expansion out of that stage one and looking to follow that move. So that's exactly what happened. Here it went sideways. I waited for the sideways. I can see that every time price comes to these levels, sells start raining, and I'm not looking to enter anything like that. So this here is my accumulation MB, you could call it, resistance, sell wall, whatever. It's all the same shit. And here eventually, like after this, it looks like, yeah, price actually wants to move out. So I wasn't watching here. I mean, I was watching if it went higher, but I wasn't looking to trade this MMB. I saw some people trade that in Trade Talk. I think it's totally fine if you do that, but it's not for me. I really like to see proof that price wants to go higher, because very often what I see happening is that it liquidates, like say this point, and then just fucks to the downside. And I'm not interested in that. I'd rather wait for this. And if I'm right, I'm gonna get a lot of price action over here that I can now trade on the lower time frame. So yeah, this to me is a stage one expansion, and I'm okay to trade that on the lower time frame. So most likely what I'm gonna start following is the new impulse which happened from this pullback. So this little impulse over here, that's what I'm gonna zoom into on the 6 minute, and that's this impulse over here. And we're gonna start following that. So here is my accumulation MB, I would say, and here it expanded higher, and I wasn't quite looking for trades here yet. This would be MMB1 or accumulation MB2, whatever you want to call it. Given the nature, like how sideways it is and whatever, I would call it accumulation MB2, but that doesn't really matter. And here we have another expansion out of this stage one, very beautiful stage one, very clear expansion. So now I'm gonna zoom into this little thing and see how that looked like. So that's this one. And what do I see? This looks like somebody pressed the buy button, right? So immediately I want to get into a pullback and take that higher. And we zoom into that here, into this little pullback. And what do we see? We see the buy button. This This is exactly what I like to see, right? At no point does price go below the EMA tunnel. You can see big chunky candles. Like usually you see big buy orders dropping and just small little sell orders, big buy, little sells, big buy, little sells, big, and it's impulsive. You can see it. It's overwhelming and one-sided. And now that some idiots were found, I don't know who it is, who decided to sell into it, this is my opportunity, right? Now somebody sells into it, price goes below the EMAs, and now I'm looking for my DMB entry. So here we go below the EMAs, start going sideways a little bit, and that to me is a beautiful MB1. And here we have chunky validation. This is like fractally, this is the buy button, right? This what you see over here is fractally on like a smaller resolution, exactly the same as you see here. And that to me was just beautiful. It pulled back with small little cell candles to the rising EMAs, and to me this was just picture perfect. This was such a nice trade. Ideally, all of my trades would look like this. And you might argue, hey, but what about the touch of the 10, 20 EMA? Well, first of all, this would be a touch of the 5, which Anton uses quite a lot. And also, it's not too important to me that it touches the tunnel itself. It's important that it's above and that like certain things that that it looks like a reaccumulation, basically, that it looks like some cells come in and that gives me the opportunity. Because the way I see it is that price simply starts going higher, right? And the composite operator intention, at least what we expect, is that it wants to go higher, higher, higher. But at some point, naturally, someone is going to start selling into the market. And as they do that, that is when we get our opportunity presented. And that's exactly what we can see over here. So yeah, that taps me in, doesn't look back, immediately just goes higher. So let me label this up. So yeah, this is a stage one expansion, just as mentioned before. This one is, yeah, I would also call it a stage one expansion from over here, and also it is, well, it's expanding out of MMB1 or ACMB2, whatever you want to call it, but it has really good momentum. That's the most important part here. So good momentum, 1 minute, very good momentum, very strong, like it a lot, and 10 seconds, oops, and 10 second is an absolutely perfect DMB. So, whoops, perfect DMB. There we go. And lastly, I'm gonna look at how I manage this trade. So, this taps me in, right? Orange line is where I want to get tapped in. This is where I get tapped in with spread. And immediately I get this huge, huge candle. So I immediately reduce risk to the orange line. And then it pulls back. And as it breaks above this high that it created, I go completely risk-free. And that was the easiest plus fix ever. And the beautiful thing about this is that I was waiting for this patiently. I didn't trade until like Wednesday or something. There was nothing to do. And then when it finally set up, I got the trade exactly like I wanted to. Oh, I even shared here something. I just want to share my thoughts here. I'm very happy to take trades here because it's after a lot of accumulation and sideways chop. I hate getting involved down there. I'd rather see price go sideways and then convincingly break out like it just did. This to me looks like all the self-suppressing price have been cleared and there are clear skies ahead. The breakout was very convincing. Big chunky buy button was pressed. Of course, I'm gonna follow. Took a lot of patience to wait for this trade and I haven't even taken any profit yet. Well, I have, but this is exactly what I was waiting for, so I'm super happy with how I executed. If this pulls back now, I'll look to layer in another trade. All right. Yep, this was super nice. So good context, good momentum, good momentum. Was it a 10 second? Yep. And good entry and perfect management. Deserves a perfect. Happy with that. All right, next one. So we have exactly the same story, and it's going to be the same story for the next trades because it's all on gold. So what do we have here? Is this the previous entry? Let me just see what happened here. So, okay, I see what happened. So the previous entry was somewhere over here. Now we went higher and we broke down into the rising EMAs. So to me, this was looking pretty good. And you can see this little trade over here that I had. I didn't actually take that. I don't even have it like labeled, but I was wondering whether that's a good one or not. Um, I probably did the right thing not to take it. But anyway, this was the breakout, right? Here we have a distribution MB, and eventually it breaks down. So my expectation, as always, when this happens, when we have a ongoing momentum cycle that is bullish, my expectation is that eventually there's going to be a distribution MB, price breaks down below the EMAs, and eventually it's going to find itself somewhere creating an accumulation MB and start breaking out. And that's exactly what happened over here. And taking this trade, I don't know if it was valid or not, but like I didn't like how it's like super close to the EMAs. It's not the type of trade that I'm looking for on the V. But this one's different. Like here, we broke out beautifully and started going sideways, right? So if we zoom into that, what we can see is this stage two, this momentum cycle, which looks very nice. Again, it doesn't break below the EMA tunnel. It has big bullish candles. Uh, it looks like buys are clearly in control here. So now what I'm looking for is for some sellers to show up and to take my double MB setup, right? So first things first, I'm looking for something to break down. Here it breaks down. I know that I was looking at this MB over here, and then it goes higher. And I know that I had a buy stop set over here. I was looking to buy stop this. But this fails and continues lower. That already allows me to draw the diagonal, right? Just as I said before. Like this high that failed, like ideally this market would have done this. But it failed. I didn't get an entry. Might have even tapped me in and fucked me up, but it didn't. Very often it does. Happy with that. And this pivot point again allows me to draw the diagonal. So I did. And here I have another MB and a breakout above the diagonal. Very nice, very chunky candles, and it pulls back. This, in my opinion, looks absolutely beautiful. It is above the diagonal. It is still a valid EMB setup, exactly where I want to see it on the rising EMAs on the V. This is perfect. So I set up my buy stop over here, and let's see what happened. I get tapped into the trade, and let's see over here. I get tapped into the trade here. On this candle, I reduce my risk to the orange line, and then I draw my high over here. If it went above that high, I would go completely risk-free, but it doesn't. Instead, it comes back, and I suffer a tiny little loss of minus 0.2R, which is, I'm more than happy with that. Very cool. So yeah, let's label that up. Uh, Context-wise, very good context. Uh, V has very good momentum over here. This stage two is beautiful. Of course, I want to get on that because my expectation is that price is gonna go higher. 1 minute, beautiful stage two, starts pulling back above the diagonal. Good looking DMB. I really, really like it. So not good momentum, good entry. This was a 1 minute entry, and I would say that was kind of perfect. So good momentum here, and perfect DMB. One more label, 1 minute entry. Because usually, well, I differentiate between 1 minute entries and 10-second entries, right? So that was that. Let me just do this because I forgot. Perfect. It always feels so good to be able to put perfect next to everything. Hopefully I can do that with the next three trades as well. That would be cool. Perfect management and overall perfect. Very nice. So next one is a -1 on gold. So let's take a look. What happened here? So we pulled back and found some demand over here, accumulation. My expectation, of course, is that we're gonna go higher. Previous trade was over here, and we broke out. Let me see what happened. I see, I see. My entry, I believe, was somewhere over here, right? And this tapped me out, but it pulled back into the rising EMAs, and on the 10-second, I was now valid to take this higher again. So that's exactly what I did. I went to the 10-second. First, I analyzed this push over here, whether it was strong enough, whether I like the stage two, the momentum of it, and I would say this is pretty one-sided. You can see that the candles that go up are very big, very impulsive, and there's not many cells going into it. So the moment it breaks down, I'm of course going to be watching for a DMB. And the DMB itself, so MB1 looks pretty okay, and MB2, mm, like this could be better, I think. Like this is pretty impulsive. Like from here, you can see it leaves behind a valid demand zone, inefficiency, imbalance, whatever you want to call it, and it goes up here. And I thought this looks pretty okay, but it's not perfect. I would say it's good. Like it makes total sense, but it could be better. Like it's a bit, I don't know. Like if you look at the other ones, they look kind of cleaner, I would say. This is a bit, yeah, I don't know. Like again, conceptually, it's completely valid. Rule-wise, it's valid. It just doesn't look too nice, does it? So yeah, horrible noise. Oof. All right, good. Thank you. So same context as before. It's a stage one expansion, and this one is already an MMB1, I would say. It's all happening in the MMB1. Uh, Here we have very good momentum on the 6 minute. On the 1 minute, we have, well, you can even see it on the 1 minute that like this push over here, it's not too good, like compared to these pushes, right? Like you can see these, for example, this is a nice proof, this is nice proof, this is nice proof. Here, like, yeah, we have a little bit over here and we took a trade here, but like this push over here, what the fuck is this? You know, like every time price wants to go up, it gets pushed down. You can see that by these wicks. So that could have been a little bit alarming to me. So one thing that I'm trying to really get better at is to pay attention to any signs of loss of momentum or like weakening of momentum, whatever you want to call it. Like these things over here, the wicks, they could have been a bit alarming to me, but yeah, I don't want to be too tight with my rules either because then I don't get any entries, but it's always a sweet balance, right? So I think it was a good trade, but it definitely wasn't perfect. So that's how I'm gonna treat it. Uh, I'm gonna say it was questionable, questionable, and this one wasn't bad, but it was also questionable. And sure enough, it was a -1. So it taps me in, right? Starts going sideways, sideways, sideways. There's an argument to be made that I could have gotten out at break even, maybe after, let's say, somewhere over here. Like this is already long enough of sideways that I could go break even. But that's a rule I'm still crafting, so I'm not really using it in live trading. But maybe something I'm gonna do in the future. And sure enough, just go sideways and then fucks me up. So yeah, this was a -1. And um, yeah, I don't want to be taking trades like this in the future, so I'm gonna label this as a mistake.
Comunque,
Hello? So yeah, this was questionable, and 10-second entry was questionable as well. Management-wise, there was nothing to do, so that was perfect, and that's a mistake. Okay, moving on, we have two more trades to go. German 30 over here. Looks like I didn't take this one. Don't know why, but we'll see, I guess. So exactly the same stuff, right? Oh yeah, yeah, I see, I see. This +6, that's the one that I talked about over here. Where was it? Ah, yeah, this one. This one. The one that I talked about, but I didn't take it. So I can explain it, but yeah, I did not take it. So here, right, we had this big, big push, the distribution MB, and then the break lower. So here my expectation is that it's going to find an accumulation over here and then expand. And that's exactly what happens. We can see that on the 1 minute. This is the accumulation MB. And then it breaks out above this level as well, so creating a new MB on a slightly higher time frame. This overall looks really nice. And now it pushes back, pulls back into the rising 1020, so I should be valid to take a DMB somewhere over here or an ICI, whatever you want to call it. And here, I just quickly analyze this little push here. this push never goes below the tunnel, like maybe here a little bit, but that's still part of like the overall bigger accumulation, which we can see here. And then it becomes very, very one-sided. It breaks down and creates a very, very nice looking DMB. And that I really thought it's valid, but what creeped me out a little bit was that compared to all of my other trades, the V just looked weird. Like it follows all the conceptual understanding that we do, but I don't know. Like after such a big sell-off and everything, yeah, I just didn't take it. But this ended up being a +6. It was a really nice trade and would have given me nice profit. But it's something I pay attention to, but not necessarily something that I would have taken immediately. So do I actually have it here? Let me see. Which trade is this? Is that it? Yeah, it is. Okay. So let me label it up. H1 expansion, it's exactly the same once again. Okay, here we have uh, ECMB. Well, it's also a stage 1 expansion. And most importantly, it has really good momentum. On the 1 minute, we have very good momentum and we have MMB1. And on the 10 second, regarding the 10 second itself, I think this was a perfect DMB, really. So here it breaks down, right, starts going sideways a little bit. That for me is the accumulation, aka MB1. Then we have a big, beautiful, oops, I disconnected. One sec. Okay, restored. Then we have an amazing validation of that MB. Once again, this buy button is exactly the same as this buy button, right? That's what I want to ultimately see. Then it starts going sideways a little bit to the rising 1020. Yes, it goes below a tiny bit, but I don't care about that. As long as it doesn't do this and starts trading below, it's all good. Like this just shows that it wants to go higher, and I buy stopped that, and that was beautiful. Never looked back. So I would say this was perfect DMB. Okay. And well, as I said, the V was a little bit questionable, so that's exactly how I'm going to mark it up. Good context, questionable V, very good momentum on the 1 minute, very good entry on the 10 second. And the way I would have managed, here I got tapped in. After these 3 or 4 candles, I reduced risk to the orange line. Then it pulled back. Uh, I the new high is what I want to see broken. The moment it breaks, I go completely risk free. So yeah, that was nice. And last trade was again on gold. So let's see what happened. Here, I think that was the next day. You can see MMB1 broke out MMB2 over here. So let's take a look what happened over here. So my expectation, of course, is that I'm going to find some stage 1 sideways over here. That's exactly what we have. And eventually I'm looking for a breakout. I started already watching over here, but that didn't result in anything. You can see that on the 1 minute, it just kind of went above and immediately died off, so nothing to follow. But here, this looks pretty good. It broke out, and I thought, okay, if this little push over here has good momentum, I can try to follow it. So I'm going to zoom into that right now. We have some kind of accumulation happening over here. Then it breaks out, creates an MMB1 over here, breaks out again and pulls back into the prime area of the rising 1020 EMA. So I go to the 10 seconds and I see if there is an entry or not. Here it looks like somebody pressed the buy button once again. Very nice uh, impulsive leg, and then it breaks out. Sorry, breaks down. Here I'm looking for an MB1 for an accumulation and a big, nice validation similar to this, very impulsive. That's exactly what happens. Starts going sideways for a little bit, and at that point I'm wanting to buy stop it. So I buy stop that, and it starts going in my direction, but simply there is not enough strength in that move, and I think it went to like 4R instead of my 6R, and comes back to break even. So overall, I'm very, very happy with this trade. This might have just as well been a winner. Whoops, what happened here? Okay. So this is no longer a stage 1 expansion. This is actually MMB2 in a very good context. This is a stage 1 expansion with good momentum. Okay, here, looking at this little push over here, I would say this is very good momentum, especially after going higher from this stage 1. This momentum was very nice, so I'm gonna call that good momentum as well. And lastly, the 10-second EMB. Once again, whoopsie. Once again, we can look at it even more from the zoomed in perspective. This is the stage 1, and this is the breakout. Very impulsive, very strong, good momentum, and perfect EMB. So I would call this perfect. This was very nice. And management-wise, let's take a look. So I got tapped in over here. This is the orange line. So I reduced risk quite late because of how it was chopping. I didn't like how it was chopping, so I wanted to see a bit more strength. I'm always willing to take a loss if it's in good context. I just want to give price space to show some strength and to really show me that it wants to go in my direction before I reduce my risk. So here I waited a little bit longer because of how many cells were dropping on the market. But at this point, I thought, okay, we're far enough. If this comes back, I think my idea is invalidated anyway. We already are above the rising 1020 EMA, so this has an ongoing momentum cycle. If that momentum cycle fails, I don't want to be in that trade anyway. So I reduce risk over here, and then yeah, this was the very, very impulsive part. That's where I drew my high. And if it goes above that high, because at this point it can still pull back, right? Well, maybe I should have reduced risk completely. Maybe. I don't know. I still had zero point 0.2 R running, but after this, I was risk free, and that ended up being a break even. So yeah, very, very happy with this trade. Well, let's take a look overall, as I always like to do. I go over all of my contexts, all of my V's, and so on, and see if I actually liked my trades or not. So going over the 1 hours, this is prime. This is exactly where I want to trade. I really like this. Same here. I was very patient, waiting for a breakout, waiting for the market to really show me that it wants to go in this direction. Very happy with that. Here it went in my direction and pulled back into the rising 1020 EMA. That's exactly where I want to trade. Here it pulled back, it already started going and expanding out of this MMB1. Perfect context. Here it's already expanding as well, and then it expanded higher, 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 and pulled back again for an MMB2. That's very nice. I like it. On my Vs, I'm looking for very similar stuff. I'm either looking for expansion out of stage 1 or for an already trending market that pulls back into the rising 1020 EMA for a momentum MB. So here we have a clear expansion. I like that. Here, this was the questionable trade. That's why I didn't take it. So I'm gonna skip this one. And yeah, actually pay attention right now how these look versus how this one looked. This one just looks very, very different. That's why I didn't take it. I want my trade ultimately to look exactly the same. Here, we had a big impulse and a pullback. So this is an MMB. So that's where I want to trade. Same here. This is an MMB. That's where I want to trade. And here we have an expansion out of stage 1. Again, that's exactly where I want to trade. Here we have an ongoing trending market pulling back into the 1020, so it's an MMB. That's where I want to trade. So here the 1 minutes are either entries or another V. So just got to pay attention to that. So let's check the V's first. So here it was a V. Again, it was after it pushed out of a stage 1, and now it's trending, pulling back into the rising 1020. That's perfect. Here, well, yeah, this technically this should be like a trending one where it does this and pulls back. But the problem I have with this and why I call it questionable is that this leg is just not really strong. That's That's the problem I have with it. Uh, we can see it zoomed in over here. I don't know, something about it that just doesn't look right. Mostly, mostly like the sells. The fact that the market was not able to push higher. If this like ended up being without the sells here, I think it would look much better. But this was basically proof to me that that there is way too much supply in the market, and it's not as one-sided as I would want it to be. And you can see it compared to like the other stuff, like on the V here. This would be the ideal push, but that didn't happen. So yeah, that was weak. Here, this was actually really nice. This is an expansion out of stage one. Here it breaks out really strongly and pulls back for momentum and B. That's where I want to trade. That's very good. Exactly the same over here, stage one. Yep. So that was nice. And now let's take a look at all the entries. This entry was absolutely beautiful. So what interests me the most is this push, then the pullback, and again this push. So this and this is fractally exactly the same, right? We're looking for a buy button, some stupid sellers to show up, and then a buy button again. So that's that looks good. Same here. Buy button, stupid sellers, buy button. Nice. Here, buy button, a little bit questionable, and you can see that this entry looks a bit different as well. So don't like it too much. Here, buy button, sideways, diagonal, and again, buy button over here. I like it. This one, buy button, stupid sellers come in, buy button, and we go. So it's like you have ignition, right? A little pause, reignition, a little pause, and that's when you want to get in. That's how I see my entries. Same here, buy button, pulls back a little bit, buy button, and I get in. So yeah, that's all my entries for that week. I generally very much liked it. Let's go over this stuff. So what went well? I'm very happy with all the contacts that I traded. They were amazing. That's exactly where I want to trade. I'm generally very happy with the V momentum, except for that one trade, but I actually didn't take that trade. I just put it into my data collection to go over it. So I'm very happy with the V momentum. I'm very happy with management overall. What else do I see as mistakes here? There was just one mistake over here, and that was the momentum here on the 1 minute. That was a little bit questionable, but generally I'm happy with it. What went bad? I didn't really make any big mistakes, I think. One bad trade on the V. Yeah, that's exactly what it was. I didn't mismanage anything, but yeah, one bad trade on the V. Um, Not enough momentum, I would say. Too much supply. Okay, and result-wise, let's go over results. So we have how many losses? One, two losses. How many BEs? One BE. We have one win, and I think we have one spread loss, right? Yes, one spread loss. So that should result in one, two, three, four, five trades. Two, three, four, five trades. Yes, five trades. So that's -2, uh, +6, -0.2, and -5 times 0.2 for commissions. And that will get me to what? hmm 6 minus 1 is 5, 4, 3.8, plus 3.8R. And now if we filter out mistakes, I only had one mistake over here, which was that little loss. So I can pretty much copy this stuff here. Instead, it was just one loss, resulting in four trades. And instead, it is, whoa, actually, I miscalculated. I'm sorry. Let's not play mathematical hero here and actually do this. +6 minus 0.2 and -1. So I'm only up 2.8 this week. Okay. And here, 6 minus this time minus 1. Well, it's exactly the same, but plus 1, so it's plus 3.8. But yeah, plus 4. Yeah, because here it's just 4 times 0.2, not 5 times. Okay, so that's everything for this week. Generally, I am very, very happy with this week. It was a good week. I was very patient, waiting for exactly what I needed to see, and yeah, not many mistakes. Generally happy. Okay, that's all. Gonna stop the recording now.